Golden Sun is the second book in the Red Rising trilogy, which was originally suggested to me by my friend, Jonathan Payne, whenever I was looking for some books to read. Or actually, I don't even know if I was looking for books to read. I think we were sitting down to watch another movie, and you were like, hey, if you need a book to read...
Yeah, I think I was just asking you, I was curious if you liked reading books, and I don't know, maybe I had finished Dark Age recently or something, and I was just like, oh, I wonder if he would be interested in these same kind of books.
Yeah, but you suggested them, and I went through the first two books super quickly. I read Red Rising, which is the first book, and we did a video on that, and as we were doing that video, I was already in the middle of reading this book, Golden Sun, and I finished that one shortly afterwards. But I've pushed off reading the third book because I didn't want to get that mixed up with this one before we made this video. And now I'm actually in the middle of a few other books, actually for school, so it's probably going to take me some time to actually get to the third book.
We're going to get to that.
But
we're definitely going to do the third book.
Yeah, we'll do it, and maybe even the next series. I don't even know, but that's a lot from now. But for right now, we are in Golden Sun. And since this is basically a series that Jonathan suggested to me, I'm going to let him kind of be the moderator for this whole video. So Jonathan, just take it over.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so I'm obviously have read all the books, so I know more behind the scenes and future stuff than David does. And some of my questions are even based off of that. But let's just go where it starts. Yep. So beginning of the book is just starts with Darrow after. I think it's a couple years after the first book. Yeah. So we have a time jump, and he's finishing the academy, which is the place he goes to after the Institute.
Yep.
And he's actually fighting Carnus Bologna, who is Cassius's brother, at the academy. And we find out he loses. He does. He assumes he won, but he outsmarts him a little bit, and he beats him. And so then after that...
Gets beaten up in, showers or something like that.
Yeah, he gets beaten up by him.
Disowned by Nero.
Yep. So then we have Darrow ends up actually joining forces with the Jackal.
Yes. Yeah, and basically, so what happens there, correct me if I'm wrong here, so because of all this stuff going on here, Darrow, he's lost and everything. He's basically been degraded to, nobody likes him anymore. Nero Augustus, the leader guy, he...
kind of disowns him.
He disowns him because at the end of the last book, which was weird to me, because at the end of the last book, they set all this up, and then within the first few chapters, they just got rid of it, and I was like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
But Nero disowns him, and that leads to where he's going to be put on auction, and then at some point he goes to meet up with the Jackal, and this is when they team up, right?
Yeah, I think we see that Victra actually rescues him.
Yes.
Or in a way, she says, hey, come with me, and I have a solution for your predicament.
Okay, yeah.
And she takes him to the Jackal, and he's kind of thrown off by this, but we're going to find out Victra ends up being pretty loyal to him, and she's trying to help him here. Yep. And so he joins forces with the Jackal, because ultimately his goal is the Red Rising.
He wants to lead a rebellion, and the Jackal has taken over 30% of the media and everything, so he can basically get a movement started.
Yep. And so we see in this part, he actually sees someone from his past that he knew. It's a pink that was involved with his carving.
Evie.
And Evie, and she's there to try and kill the Jackal. I forget if she actually knows the Jackal's there. I think she didn't know.
I don't remember.
He happened to be there or something. But we see Darrow actually saves the Jackal because he needs him for the plan.
Yes.
He knows the plan's bigger than just killing everyone. Yes. Which is ironic because after this, we find out that he's actually going to plan on being a terrorist in a way.
Well, yeah, because he meets with Harmony,
who
says that his mentor has been killed.
Yep.
Right, and he says that the Sons of Ares have another plan for him, in that they want him to go blow up everybody at the auction thing they're going to have.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to do this, but then they reveal that Io, his wife who died at the beginning of the first book, that she was pregnant. And so not only did Io die, but their unborn child died as well.
Yeah, so he's dealing with this grief.
Yeah, and so that makes him mad, and it makes him hate them again, and so he's like, okay, I'll be this terrorist. Because that's what it is. Whenever I got to this part of the book, I remember right where I was at, I was running on the edge of a space center in Nash Road 1.
Yeah.
I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, is he going to be a terrorist? This is crazy. I was really surprised that he went that dark with it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because it's our protagonist.
Right. But. So I guess the first question leading into here is what do you think makes the difference between, I think we've already kind of discussed it now, but what do you think makes the difference between leading this revolution to change the way governments run and being a terrorist?
Well, yeah, so the difference between trying to change the way things are versus just totally... Well, I think it just depends on what your heart is behind it. One is just seeking... Like, the terrorist is just seeking destruction.
Right.
Whereas Darrow's whole point was never just to seek destruction. It was to help love others by seeking a better world.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the whole terrorism thing he was going for here... ultimately that's going to be what stops him.
Yeah.
Because his final conviction is going to be, Io would not want me to do this.
Yeah.
She would not want me to kill all these people. There's got to be another way. And he's going to come up with that better way.
Yeah.
And so I guess that would be the distinction there, is that there's a way to change systems, and it doesn't have to be by killing all the people. You don't have to commit mass genocide and kill all the people on top. Yeah. If you're hearing this and you're thinking that, please don't do that. There's a better way. And I'm not suggesting that you should do what he does either.
Right.
But in the extreme situations, I see why he does it. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then so yeah, he ends up not doing that. He ends up changing his mind. But one thing he does do here is he kind of knocks out Roke with some some drugs so that he doesn't get caught in this explosion.
Yeah, and because he was going to be auctioned off, right? He was going to be auctioned off, and then Roke came and said that, like, Roke was being such a good friend to him, and said, like, hey man, like, my family will bid for you, we'll take care of you, and Roke's being a great friend. But at the time, Darrow thought that he was going to be a terrorist, and he wanted to save his friend, so he drugs him, knocks him out so that he doesn't get killed. But then in the end, he doesn't even go through with the terrorist thing,
right? Which wasn't planned ahead of time. So, so do you think that was the right choice for Darrow to make, or what do you think he should have done there?
Well, I think he should just never have even thought about being a terrorist. I think that was his issue.
Yeah.
I think he let his hatred and his anger take over him for a little bit too much.
And grief, the fact that he lost a child also.
Yeah, because as we're going to see, this thing with Roke is going to affect a whole lot. Yeah. And if he had just never thought about being a terrorist, if he had just stick true to what he was originally planning, he would have been able to salvage so much. I'm not saying he would have been able to salvage everything with Roke, because I think some things with Roke were already kind of there a little bit, where like I think inevitably if he kept treating Roke the way he did, what happened was inevitable. Mm-hmm. But this was like the thing that really started pushing Roke over the edge. Right. And so if he had just never even messed with the idea of like doing what he was going to do, that would have saved a whole lot. But yeah,
true.
I mean, with him wanting to be a terrorist, like planning on doing that, I think it was right for him to save Roke. Other than the fact that it's kind of messed up, like he's only saving the ones that he loves. You know, like that's kind of, I mean, it's good that he's at least saving somebody, but it's also a very biased, and even the people he's saving is a selfish motive.
Yeah, I think in the third book we see a lot more reasoning behind it. Also,
okay,
and it lies in how Roke views gold and gold's purpose. So he does have some motives beyond just the fact that the loved ones died. Yeah, but that obviously does drive kind of his decision to betray him so easily. So, okay, and then after this, we see he's going to challenge Cassius to a duel.
Because he realizes that better than murdering a bunch of golds, the best way to start a war is through civil war. Yeah. So a house divided against itself cannot stand, right? So he's like, okay, I've got a better idea.
And he knows there's this kind of thing between Bologna and Augustus, and he's just going to use that and make them fight each other, and he basically cleans up after them.
Yes.
Just paves the way. So this battle, this duel with him, there's a couple things. One thing I thought was really cool is, since there was a time gap, the last thing we knew about Darrow was that he was not good with a razor at all. He actually lost to Cassius already. Yeah. So when I was reading this going into it, I was like, what is he doing? This doesn't make sense. Because Cassius is known as like one of the best fighters with a razor. And we find out he actually got training from Lorne in that time gap that we missed. So I think that was one reason for that, why we missed that, to kind of set that up. So it's kind of this big reveal. Yeah. Another thing I thought was interesting is, that I've kind of talked to you about before, is Cassius's mom is wanting to step into this and just stop it because she doesn't want her son to die. but the father is really adamant that he wants it to go on, even if his son's going to die from this, because it's the honorable thing.
Yes.
And I was kind of thinking about like how honor relates between men and women and how they view honor, and how do you view honor?
Yeah, it's man. That's a difficult thing because it's like you see where both are really kind of coming from.
Yeah.
Because the dad, he's like saying, "Hey, son, like you got yourself in this situation, like you've got to do what you got to do." But the mom, out of love for her child, is like, "No, I gotta like save this kid.
Yeah.
Like stop the fighting." And so that's difficult because, I mean, I want to side with the mom, but I'm also much like, hey, I mean, you got yourself into the situation. You like whenever you do stuff like this, you got to be aware of the consequences here. Really, the main issue is just pride.
Yeah.
It seems like really that's what it comes down to with the whole like honor shame thing. Mm-hmm. It's a pride issue, and so really you need to set aside your pride. And I'd probably side more with the mom there because I think it's just, you know, the people just need to set aside their testosterone and just like learn how to talk things out. You don't have to like do everything fight to the death. But in their culture, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's weird.
Because they hold that as like one of the highest qualities is honor.
Yeah.
We see that a lot in characters. Usually the villains are, you know, the ones that don't have honor, and they use that against the heroes who are more honorable. Yeah. We see that theme in a lot of stuff, but I just thought it was interesting because I think women do tend to react more emotionally, and she just wants to protect her son.
Yep.
And that does make sense. And when you see the guy, though, that also makes sense as a guy. Like, you want to honor any deal you make, and that's the way the duels work.
Yeah. And it brings greater weight to the conflict, right? Because whenever you realize, wow, there's some people who like they don't want to see this happening. They just want people to survive. Yeah. Like that's like it's kind of heartbreaking to see that.
Yeah.
And it's really just guys being stubborn and be like, no. But you can see where they're coming from as well.
Right.
They're wanting to be people of their word, and they need to defend their honor. But really, that honor it's largely rooted in pride.
Yeah.
And so the mom doesn't care as much for their honor as she does for her children.
Exactly. And she's already lost one son in the first book, so
that's true. Yeah.
The other ones.
Everybody's just losing. Everybody's losing kids all throughout this whole series, but a lot of people die.
And so we see that from this duel, we see the Sovereign actually stand up for protecting Cassius, and this is a big plot point because we find out Darrow was actually doing this to discover that about her, not really to ever like his goal was never to kill Cassius. He cuts off his sword hand, just to show he won. But he's really trying to show that, you know, the Sovereign's taking sides with the Bologna. So Augustus, because what's happening.
He's saying now's the time to start some skirmish here.
Yeah. So really clever, and we see like Darrow's intelligence all from that very beginning when we saw the card and he eats it. All that was to test his, his guile.
Yes. No, he's very crafty, and that's really good because, and I like that you don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, like he doesn't, like the author, Pierce Brown, he doesn't go out of his way to explain to us exactly what's going on in Darrow's head. Mm-hmm. He explains some of this stuff, but it's more of like the emotional stuff. It doesn't let us see like his entire plan.
Right.
He just thinks civil war, and like, it really says a lot about him because he like developed this whole plan while like standing out on like a bridge or something. Yeah. Like, and he was like, oh, I need to go get rid of that bomb and like go start a civil war. And he just like comes up with this immediately and knows how to do it. And it shows you like he's a good general. Yeah. When it comes to like leading like wars and stuff because he can think on his feet and like come up with stuff. So
I think it's really interesting to read as well because it's kind of like Ocean's 11 or something where you kind of see plot points the whole time, but you don't know how it's going to play out, and then you see it play out, and you're like, oh, that was his plan. That's really smart.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
That's pretty cool. After this, we see that they were planning on killing, I think, all of the Augustus.
Yes.
But instead, I think they get captured. Darrow gets captured by the Sovereign.
Yeah, and they have an interview and everything.
Yeah.
And he catches her in a lie.
Yeah. So what did you think of the bug type? Or the Oracle, they call it the Oracle.
It's kind of cool. I mean, she was really confident that she wouldn't lie.
Yeah.
I guess. Like, that was kind of weird to me, because I was like, for the fact that she lied so easily, like, I was like, man, was he just the first person to get you to lie?
I don't know. And then in the future books, they kind of talk about this, like, skill she has called the Mind's Eye. Okay. Which it's supposedly supposed to help her. So that puts her on, like, a whole nother level of, like, funny. I'm surprised she wasn't able to like lie through that. But
then I think Fitchner saves her, right? Because Fitchner is the knight. Rage Knight or something like that.
Yeah, Fitchner, who was from the first book, who was like a moderator. I forget what they call him, but he's like a moderator in the first book. He has become Rage Knight. Yes. He's like fought his way up to it. I think he like earned it.
That's cool.
Which is important for his character, as we'll find out later. So yeah, she tests Darrow, and Darrow beats her. I forgot the question he asked her, but he eventually asked her a question where she can't tell the truth, so she lies about it.
Yeah.
I think
it had to do with killing the Augustuses because Mustang was there.
Yeah, that's right. And Mustang walks in. So in a way, Mustang is the reason that
because basically it revealed that she was planning on killing the Augustus family and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah.
And that's eventually like where Mustang, that's going to be like she had basically been trying to infiltrate the Sovereign from the inside.
Yeah. One thing we saw in this book and the time gap, she started like dating Cassius, and she's with the Sovereign and all them.
Yeah, and so Darrow had been really frustrated with her. Yeah. Because he was like, how could you be with my enemy?
Again, he's doubting her.
He's always doubting her, and then every time she's always like, you idiot. But yeah, so she was on that side, and I think it had something to do with killing the Augustus family, and then Mustang just says, like, okay, that's fine, but then that sets, like, something else for beyond, like, behind the scenes. Yeah. She's going to go contact Severo, which sets up the next part of the thing.
So after this, we see he gets some quarters there, but he either suspects or finds out that he knows that the Augustus are there, but he finds out that they're planning on killing them in their sleep. Yes. So he goes and organizes his howlers and stuff to go rescue them.
Well, Mustang contacted Severo, and the howlers come in.
Oh yeah, and they break into his place and take him, and they go rescue them. But before they can get away, we see that Aja shows up, who is like the apex killer. And they actually steal Lysander, so that's a big plot thing. They have the bag.
That's the Sovereign's like son or nephew?
Grandson.
Grandson. Okay.
So yeah, the Sovereign's grandson, Lysander. They capture him.
He thinks it's fun.
Yeah. Well, he's a real big fan of Darrow. He likes Darrow, and it's like as a kid you have a hero. Darrow is his hero.
Yeah.
But before they can get away, Aja like captures Quinn, and he knows that they can't give Lysander up, because if they do, they'll lose their leverage. So they can't give up Lysander, and Quinn gets like beat up pretty badly,
very badly.
So but they do.
And Quinn is Roke's girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah. Quinn and Roke are dating, and
poor Roke.
They get her on the ship, and she's still alive, but she's pretty beat up. Mm-hmm. And the Jackal's with them, and so the Jackal has some experience apparently.
Yes.
And so there's no medics on there, so they give him to the Jackal to try and help her.
Yeah.
And he says he's going to do everything. So at this point, like, I think Darrow, like, obviously doesn't trust the Jackal fully because of all the stuff in the first book. But, he's on his team now, and he seems sincere. What do you think about that? Do you think that he, like, obviously Quinn is going to die, so...
Yeah.
Do you think that he purposely let her die, or that he tried his best?
Ooh, I don't think I ever thought about... I never once trusted the Jackal. Like, I will say that. Like, there was never a single moment when I was like, oh, the Jackal's trustworthy. I never thought that. I don't think Pierce Brown was trying to get us to at all.
Yeah.
I think there was always like this ominous like cloud over the Jackal where you were like, he's up to something.
I think in this moment, it's kind of like one of those things, like, you think that he might be trustworthy because if he killed her, then Darrow wouldn't trust her. So, like, that trust is there because of that.
Yeah, it's weird, though, because I don't think I ever thought... I don't even think I ever considered that he allowed her to die. I think I just assumed that he actually did try to help her, but now thinking about it, I guess it would have benefited... Like, because what it's going to do, it's going to put another wedge between him and Roke, which will benefit the Jackal's ultimate plan in the end. And so it very well could be that the Jackal allowed Quinn to die. I never really thought about that, though. Yeah. I always just kind of assumed that, like, even though I didn't trust the Jackal, I assumed that he was actually helping her out as best he could, but that would actually make a lot of sense. So,
well, it is answered in the third book.
Oh.
Yeah. So you'll find out.
Oh, cool. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So after this, we see that Darrow ends up going on one of their ships.
Yes.
Infiltrating one of their ships where they're, like, meeting, like, all the important people. And he basically killed... I think who's the main guy that's on there?
Plenty?
Plenty.
Oh,
yes, Plenty.
Yes.
So okay. Plenty, that's where they kill him.
Yes.
They basically land there with the gold, and they Plenty's been causing plenty of trouble.
Did you play that ahead of time?
No.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
On the spot jokes.
That was good. That was good.
So they kill him, and basically they tell everyone on the ship, all the non-golds, hey, listen, we could just like the protocol for the golds here are to just like release y'all and purge the ship, kill everyone. That can happen, or y'all can just kill all the golds and take over the ship, and like y'all will live.
Yeah.
So basically, he causes this revolt among everyone on the ship, and they kill all the golds. And also at this point, they have this giant noise coming down the hallway and trying to break in, and they realize it's a stain, an obsidian.
Yeah, it's Ragnar.
And they're kind of scared, but he comes in and he basically wants to side with Darrow. Like, he respects Darrow, and he does like this blood pact thing with him, basically giving his life to Darrow.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. For some reason, every time, have you ever seen Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah.
For some reason, I always picture Korg.
Okay.
Like the rock guy.
Yeah.
He's like, hi, I'm Korg.
Well, that guy's too nice, I think.
Yeah, I know it is, but for some reason when I picture Ragnar, that's what I imagine. Even though it's like Ragnar's like, I am Ragnar. Yeah. Like for some reason in my mind I picture like, hi, I'm Ragnar.
And I thought it was really funny how you pointed out all his text was italicized.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like in the book,
I've never read that. So interesting thing about I think for both of us. Like, we listened to the book on Audible. Yeah. But he actually bought the book. And
yeah, I'm like way too OCD and stuff. So like what I'll do is I will buy a book just because like I'll listen to it on audio, but I'll also get the book because I like having like books hard copy and in person. Yeah. And then I'll highlight stuff in the book because I like writing. And so to me, I like finding things that authors do and like highlighting it. But yeah, I don't know if you can see this on here. It's too bright on here, but like it's like you can see like it's like bolded on the. Oh, I will. But trust us.
His text is all bolded, kind of. I guess to emphasize his voice. He's like has a loud booming voice.
Yeah, I was just like skimming through it. I was like, oh, that's weird. But yeah, so all of Ragnar's stuff is in bold in the book.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
So this is Ragnar Valaris. He is an obsidian. He was actually, I think they, I can't remember. I think they grow them in like test tubes, or they basically like create them to be like killing machines. Yeah. And they're raised believing basically Norse mythology, I think. Yeah. Ragnar. So they believe in all of the Norse stuff, and they believe that they belong to that, like Valhalla and all this cultural stuff. Yeah. So yeah, he believes that he's giving his life, and they believe that the golds are the gods. Yeah. Basically, so he sees Darrow as a god, and he's kind of giving his life to him. Mm. But we'll see that Darrow is going to try and like teach him that it's about being free. Like, you have your own choice. And Ragnar really has a real big struggle with this idea because his whole like view of life and how he does stuff is based on this idea of service.
Slave. Yeah. And it's very it's a very interesting view of it because it's not like a lot of times people think of slavery and like how you desire to be free, whereas Ragnar. It's like he doesn't know how to be free.
Well, it's also like it's an honor to him, and he thinks he's being dishonorable. Like his life isn't worth living.
Which I think that we can learn from that a little bit. Like, I thought there was actually that was a very honorable thing to me. Like the fact that he's like, no, I view service like as an honor, and Darrow's like, no, you can be free. Like there's beauty in both of the things they're saying because even though he is freed, that's not changing him from serving Darrow. You know what I mean? Like he's still like it's almost like. Darrow's like it's really kind of what God does for us, right? Yeah. He frees us from our slavery to sin, but because he's freed us, we become slaves to him. Yeah. You know? And so like I thought it was actually really cool because you like realize, wow, like it's an honor to serve you. Yeah. So that was actually really
and we see that theme in the first book too when he's trying to teach everyone at the school that it's not about following him because he's a slave, but following him because
he's a leader.
He's
a leader who wants to serve them.
Yeah, and he's willing to sacrifice himself for them just as they would for him.
So it's cool. Like once again, it's not a Christian book or anything, but you see there's certain things the values that appeal to us are things that are very Christian values, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. And so after he meets Ragnar, they make this plan. They're gonna go recruit Lorne. because Lorne is kind of he's kind of a neutral character. He's really kind of done with war. He doesn't want to fight anymore.
Yeah, that's the guy who trained Darrow.
This is the guy who trained him. And he also trained Aja. Aja was the last one before Darrow, and I guess he liked Darrow. He kind of, they kind of talk about it. He kind of saw him as a son that he didn't have. I think his sons died in battle, and that's one of the reasons he doesn't want to fight anymore. He doesn't. Death begets death.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he knows that Lorne's going to be resistant to this. So again, he devises a plan, but we don't know what the plan is. Yeah. We just know he's going to try and get Lorne.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. Yep. So he goes, and he basically lands there and forces Lorne into a position where either he's going to have to bend to the Sovereign and maybe have his family killed or join Darrow.
Which you hate it because, and you can tell Darrow doesn't want to do that to him either, because Darrow does care for Lorne, and Lorne cares for Darrow, but Darrow's like, hey man, like, I need your help, and I can't win without you, and so, like, I'm gonna have to force you into the decision, and Lorne gets pretty mad at him. Like, Lorne's like, I want to live in peace.
Well, the thing is, I think Darrow actually led the Sovereign to be there, like, he let him know, so he of course he's mad, he's like, hey, you led all these murderers to my house, and my family.
Well, and it almost gets his grandkids killed, because, earlier you talked about Lysander being so... Well, Tactus, one of Darrow's kind of... Tactus gave them some trouble in the first book, but they kind of became allies a little bit later on. Well, Tactus is the one who took Lysander and brought him back to the Sovereign.
Right before this, I think, he took him.
And so he was kind of a traitor, but then Tactus comes back in here, and during this whole debacle with Lorne, the Sovereign and all of them, they, like, land down, and they start attacking. And eventually, Tactus and Aja, they both, like, run off. And they storm Lorne's, like, home. I think it's, like, a castle or something like that.
Yeah, he just has, like, this big home on, like... I imagine it, like, on a big hill with water around it, you know.
Yeah. And so they storm it, and basically Tactus, he finds... It's grandchildren or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it's his grandchildren.
Yeah, and he's basically about to kill all of them. And Lorne and Darrow come in there last second, and Darrow basically talks Tactus down because... Lorne's about to, like, kill him and stuff. But Darrow, he genuinely cares for Tactus. And he's, like... wanting to show him grace, right? He's saying, hey man, like, if you lay down your stuff, we can move on, and we have to act as if, like, none of this happened, and not only that, but I will make you one of our leaders. Like, he says, like, I will, like, you can be forgiven.
Some and more like, Christian things
it's
going
cool.
on.
Like, no, I loved it. Like, I was listening, I was like, wow. And I kept thinking that there was, like, going to be a catch to it or something. Yeah. And I thought that maybe Tactus, like, wouldn't, like, be genuine. But then Tactus, like, drops his razor and stuff, and I was like, wow. Genuine, yeah, he is genuine. And then him and Darrow, I believe they hug.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, Tactus, like...
Tactus is, like, crying, like, bawling.
It's so heartwarming, because you realize Tactus, he just wanted someplace to fit in where he was valued.
And he thought that maybe Darrow didn't feel that way, because Darrow, it does cut himself off from a lot of people, because of his secret.
Yeah, and so he wanted to be at a place where he was valued, and
his family doesn't. His family, he, like, is pretty, like, hateful.
Yeah, he just wanted to prove himself, basically.
Yeah.
But Darrow says, dude, like, you can come to me and, like, you're my friend. Yeah. Like, I don't care about your past. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And then Tactus, he's crying. They hug each other. And then Lorne snaps and he kills Tactus.
Yeah.
And that, I was like, oh, like this is good writing here. Because Lorne, he was a man of war who just wanted to live in peace. Yeah. But then in this situation, he was put in a dire... And, like, you see that warmonger come back out. Yeah. And, like, he acts rashly and he kills Tactus. And you're like, oh... Like, this is why he wanted to live in peace.
Yeah. And you can imagine his frustration and, like, how scared he was that his grandchildren were about to die. Yep. I mean, just the anger at this person for even thinking of doing that.
And so it's like, it's one of those things where, once again, it's, like, bittersweet, because if Darrow hadn't come to Lorne, Tactus would have lived. Yeah. But, like, but even then, Tactus died with, like, redemption. You know? So it's, like, it's sad.
He died a good man.
Yes, he died a good man, but it is really good. I really like that moment in the book.
Rather
die a hero or live long enough to become the villain?
Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
There we go.
There you go.
Harvey Two-Face quotes.
Yes.
Okay. So after this, Tactus dies, and Lorne does end up coming with them to help them. Yep. And they plan an Iron Rain on Mars. Yep. And so they go down. It doesn't actually turn out too well. I think they have, like, there's, like, a jamming field or something that causes all of them to crash into the lake, and...
So basically, they're descending down, and there's, like, this brown or something. It's like it's a kid.
Yeah, it's a kid.
Like, they planted this kid there.
They don't want to shoot it. Shoot the kid,
They don't want to shoot the kid or anything, but the kid's been planted there with, like, EMP.
Yeah.
Which is, like, it's messed up.
Yeah.
But like, so like it shows you that
that's actually war tactics in the real world.
It is.
They actually
and so they
that.
place like an innocent child there with an EMP. It blows up. It like basically
destroys
all their destroys the kid.
Yeah.
God. But like their armor is like
it's
shut
pulse
off.
armor. It's like this big heavy stuff that helps them survive as they go into atmosphere from space. So it's surrounding them.
Yeah,
but it
basically,
shuts down,
and Darrow has to cut himself out.
Yeah.
Which is really a cool moment. Like he's just like being like this is where like his skill from being a red.
Oh yeah,
like
he's very precise with the blades.
Because whenever he did like the claw or whatever, back in the beginning of the first movie, like he was one of the quickest ones with his fingers, and so he could like start it and stop it.
Yeah, he has to do it from like a weird angle or something, so he can't see, so he's just kind of cutting the armor off.
Because the way the razors work, it's right. Like they never explained it in the books, but you explained it to me.
Yeah, it's
like a whip, but like when you click it, it like turns into a blade.
Yeah, you basically can somehow put the shape you want it to be on the hilt, and then the whip will form into that.
So
shape.
like he's got it like around his arm to where he's like turning it to where like it cuts through, but then he's got to like stop it before it cuts through his arm.
Yeah.
So it's like he's just doing it like one piece at a time. He gets out, and then he gets Severo and Ragnar?
Yeah, Ragnar's down there. I don't remember. I think Severo's in a different spot than them. I can't remember.
Okay.
But I know Ragnar is down there.
Okay.
And
they escape.
Yeah, they do escape, but then he decides he's going to try and blow up the place on his own, or try and do stuff on his own.
Well, I think he sees that the Sovereign
is escaping.
She's escaping, and he says, "This is my last chance," because like they were falling behind and stuff, and he says, "I've got to get her."
Yeah.
And so he like hops into the plane or the spaceship or whatever that they're getting into, and he gets in there, and he's getting ready to attack.
Yeah.
And he's got like an EMP type thing. Like
he has a grenade. It's just a grenade.
It's a grenade. He's planning on blowing himself up too and stuff.
But then it fails, and
it gets like thrown out the window.
So I think like Aja is on the ship, and the Sovereign, and Fitchner, and we see he fails, and he kind of gets captured. Like they tie him down or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Sovereign asks Fitchner to kill him. Yeah. But Fitchner's trying to I think up to this point, I was kind of convinced that Fitchner was not a great guy. Because in the first book, he always seemed like he was kind of trying to do what was best for him. Mm-hmm. And then in this one, he's like kind of on the villainous side.
You can go back to our first video and you can see that I liked Fitchner from the beginning. Like I said that at some point in the video. I don't know where, but I mentioned I like Fitchner. He's cool.
Go fact check.
Yeah, go fact check. I could be wrong, but
you have to watch the whole video just to make sure.
And you gotta like and subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, and then go watch this video again, and then just share it with your friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, somewhere in there, I liked Fitchner from the beginning, so I'm just saying that.
I mean, I think I liked him. I did like him, but I was always convinced that he was selfish, like he was doing stuff for himself. Not that he was any like hero or anything.
Yeah.
But we find out he's actually been having this facade for a purpose. He was trying to move up into the ranks.
Yeah.
Because
and Darrow basically ruins it.
Yeah. Darrow messes up, and he says it to him as he grabs him, and I think they jump out of the ship.
Yeah, because Darrow, like, if Darrow hadn't jumped into the ship and put himself at risk, basically this is causing Fitchner to either kill Darrow, which is his greatest asset, or like basically it just puts him in a weird position because it turns out Fitchner is Ares,
the
right?
mysterious man that we've been wondering about the whole time.
Yeah, and so now it makes sense why Severo figured out that Darrow was a red, which we didn't explain earlier. But so Severo knew that Darrow was a red because Ares told him. Well, it turns out that Severo's dad, Fitchner, is Ares, right? And so whenever Darrow jumped in there, it's like, okay, Fitchner's in this position. If he kills Darrow, he's taking out like the Sons of Ares, like biggest guy, like best guy.
Yeah.
But if he allows Darrow to live, well, he's kind of revealed himself as Ares, and so Darrow, if Darrow hadn't jumped in there, it wouldn't have messed everything up. Yeah. But he did. So Darrow does make some mistakes here and there, but
he does decide that Darrow is worth it, and he saves them. And then he ends up telling Darrow like his story, like why. It's kind of a love story.
Yeah, he like fell in love with a red.
Yeah.
And they like had to go have some surgery.
Yeah, so you can't reproduce together because of the way their bodies work, I guess.
Well, and they're like way different sizes.
Well, yeah, but they talk. There's some like stuff he makes up to explain that they basically can't
reproduce.
Have kids.
Yeah, so they had to both get carved a little bit.
Yeah.
To where they could reproduce, which is actually really sweet. I mean, it's like they like I don't know, it's kind of interesting.
I mean, you have the technology to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of cool, like, the fact that it's like they, you know, like, they're like, okay, we want to be together here.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of cool, like, that their love was, like, they wanted to produce, like, it wasn't just to, it wasn't just to have sex. It was because they wanted to have a family together.
Right.
Right? I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so, they eventually produced Severo, right? But the Golds figured out about this thing, and so they killed the Red, like, the woman, and then they basically made, like, Fitchner one of the lowest around, like one of the lowest Golds.
Yeah, I think even before that he was kind of an outcast, and then he was even more after that.
Yeah.
So he's kind of always just been an outcast, and that's why I said earlier it's a big deal that he got to the position he did, because it's really way harder for him. And same thing for Severo. Now this explains why Severo has always had trouble kind of fitting in with everyone else, and kind of why he's off and different than all the other Golds, and shorter.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I think it also kind of explains his kinship with Darrow, because Severo's half red.
Yeah.
So he kind of relates to him and understands his struggle.
Yep.
They're not disillusioned by this view of Gold and how they're superior to everyone. So while all this is going on, Roke is actually basically winning the war for Darrow. He's very good in space, tactically, and he basically defeats them while all this is going on with Darrow.
Roke.
And then, so they win. They win that. And then, after all this, Darrow finds out that Sons of Ares have been captured by the Jackal. Mm-hmm. And so he still has this, deal with Jackal. They're still cooperating with each other. So he doesn't want the Jackal to know by himself going in and rescuing them. So he plans this another plan to go in and pretend like he's friends with the Jackal, and then have his Howlers go and rescue. I think
so. Basically, it's like him being there while the Sons of Ares attack. So it looks like he's not part of them. But
and I forgot who they captured. Did they have Orion?
I think it might have been like Victra and stuff.
Victra?
I don't know. They had a few different people who.
I think that's one.
I think some of them were the original, like Sons of Ares, right?
Yeah. And it might have been like his mom or something too.
No, his mom wasn't there. Maybe it was
someone important.
Who was the guy who trained him?
Oh, was it Dancer?
Probably.
Was Dancer?
It might have been Dancer. I don't know.
I think maybe.
Just go look it up in the book.
I think it was Dancer, and I think it was the other girl, the other Harmony.
Okay.
And is it a spoiler? I can't remember. Maybe it is. I won't say anything though. So it's Dancer and Harmony are in the prison there, and he's basically rescuing them without the Jackal realizing that it's him. So. Okay, and then we have the big, I don't know, I guess the war was kind of the climax, but we have this point where Darrow is finally going to decide to trust Mustang. He takes her to his home, and she's really confused, and he... Like
his home, as in, Mars,
his actual
under,
home.
In the mines and stuff,
And she's confused, and he gives her the video of his carving, of when he was made into a Gold, and he goes inside.
Yeah, he goes inside his house where he talks with his mom, which is really sweet.
Yeah, that was really cool. She just sees his eyes. Obviously, he looks way different. He's bigger and different looking, but she can just look into his eyes and know it's his son.
And it did help a little bit, that apparently, his uncle, told them that he wasn't dead.
Oh, yeah.
So, because I was like, wow, that's impressive. That's a real good mother's intuition to, know that, you thought he was dead and you can recognize him.
Yeah.
But so it did help a little bit that she knew he wasn't dead. She knew he was out there somewhere.
That's true.
But she didn't know he was a Gold.
Yeah.
So, but it was a really sweet scene, where she's like, oh, I'll recognize you from anywhere, Darrow. And, but at the same time, while this is really sweet, he's also wondering, where's Mustang?
So he told Mustang, basically, once you watch it, if you accept who I am, you come inside, and I'll meet you inside. But he's wondering, she's not showing up, and he looks at, his tracker on his data pad, and she's leaving. She's walking away.
Yeah.
So I think he leaves. He meets some of his family. He finds out that his brother married Eo's sister, and they have kids. So he has a family, and he gets to meet them. But then he leaves, and he's going to follow Mustang into the tracker goes into a cave, I think.
Yeah.
And it's dark, and he runs into her.
Yeah.
And she basically pulls a gun on him.
Yeah. Well, she anticipated it, right?
Yeah.
Like, she anticipated he was tracking her and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's not happy about that. And so she's like, hey, she like, what the heck's up with all this stuff?
Yeah. I forgot, I kind of forgot the whole conversation, but she's basically...
She's just mad.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's just really confused about all of it. And ultimately she's just about to kill him.
Yeah.
And that's whenever Ragnar comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And Ragnar basically is like, you're going to have to kill me first.
Yeah.
Because Ragnar's...
I like that part because he's like on the ceiling or something. They don't know where he's from.
Yeah.
He's like just mysteriously in this dark area.
Yeah. And at this point, Ragnar's been freed.
Yeah.
That happened during the whole Iron Rain thing because Darrow gave Ragnar a razor.
Yeah, and
which
that was a big
they're not supposed to
controversy too.
touch. Yeah.
All the other golds were kind of mad. Even close golds to
Yes.
Darrow were questioning, like the Howlers were questioning why he
Yeah,
would
and
do
I
that.
think I actually highlighted one of those parts in the book
Yeah.
because I think it was it stuck out to me. They're questioning him about giving an obsidian the razor.
Yeah.
And he says, it's my army. You remember the Institute. You remember how I bleed for those who follow me. How I do not take allegiance of slaves. Why are you now surprised by this? Because it's real. So, like, because they were getting on him, they're like, Darrow, like, he's a slave. You don't do this. And he's like, I'm not doing anything any differently than I did at the Institute.
Yeah.
You just don't like this because it's real.
Yeah.
And the reason I highlight that's because it reminded me, once again, of Jesus.
Yeah.
Because when Jesus was on trial before his death and before his crucifixion and stuff, he was like, why are you putting me on trial? Like, I've said all these things in public.
I'm not saying
you don't
anything,
have, like, I'm not changing my story.
Yeah.
I'm consistent.
Yeah.
And Darrow's doing the same thing. He says, hey, what I said in practice, I'm putting into application here. All because it benefited you when we were in the Institute.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you're like, come on, man. I'm going to be gracious to who I'm going to be gracious.
I think it's this idea that they like the idea, but they haven't realized yet that it applies to everybody.
Yeah.
Because they're it's university. Obviously, all the slaves were all other golds.
Yeah. Well, they're like Jonah. In the book of Jonah.
Yeah.
They're like, we want God's grace, but we don't want other people to have God's grace.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, that was a really good idea, and that's how we should do things with other golds.
Yeah.
Oh, but now with slaves.
Yeah.
So.
But so I keep calling him Obsidian. Ragnar, he comes in and he kind of basically prevents Mustang from killing Darrow.
Yeah. Even though I don't know if she ever would have or not.
I don't know either.
Anyway, they let her go. He convinces Ragnar not to kill her, and she leaves. So I guess on this part, do you think Darrow should have told her the way he did, or?
I think he should have been a man and talked to her
in person,
face to face. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think showing him the video was the best way to go about it. I get why he did it, but I think it would have been much better. I think she would have taken it a lot better if he told her face to face.
Yeah.
And just like, because the thing is, it's kind of like sending a text versus talking in person.
Mm-hmm.
If you send somebody a text, like, that means they're only thinking from their own perspective. You're not able to justify it. You're not able to talk it through. Whereas if you talk in person, they get to see your face. They get to see what you're saying behind all of it. It would have helped her process it better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have faith that she's going to come around and everything like that. So I'm not too worried about it. But
I'll give you a little bit of spoiler for the next one. She actually does bring this up, and she does say they do talk about how if he had talked to her in person, it would have been a much better outcome.
I can guarantee.
Yeah. And the reason that that's one of the reasons why she was so upset with him.
I think he was just afraid. He just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, that's what he told her. He's like, I was afraid of how you would react. Like, I couldn't face it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of a coward.
Yeah, but I could tell you, like, whenever he handed her like a hollow cast or whatever, and was like, hey, go watch this, I'm like, that's not gonna go well. I mean, that, like...
But you can understand he's already
That's like telling a girl you like her over text. Yeah. She's going to be like, really? I mean, she might be like, cool, but most likely she'll be like, I don't know, I wish you would have done it in person.
But I think in this case, it was a lot more high risk for Darrow. Because she basically had the influence to shut down the entire... Yeah. Because he decided he wasn't going to kill her. If she decided now he was going to let her go, which is really bad for the resistance if that happened. Yeah. So... The stakes were a lot higher, I think, and
and I think that's the last time we see her in the book, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she kind of escapes, and we don't see her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to the end, right?
Yep. The Grand Victory Parade.
Yes, where basically Augustus is wanting to finally claim Darrow. Like, before, at the end of the last book, he kind of, I guess, took in Darrow as like a protege. I mean, he called him his son,
He actually adopted him into the family, kind of.
Yeah. Whereas now, he's, like, taking him in as his, like, heir.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, Augustus is going to be, like, whenever they overthrow the sovereign, Augustus is going to be the new sovereign, essentially.
Yeah.
Or, like, whatever, like, system they set up.
Yeah.
And he wants Darrow to be the next one in charge. And that's what Fitchner and them, they said, you need to be that. Like, you will be the leader of all these things. And Darrow didn't originally want that. He's like, whoa, I wasn't planning on being, like, the leader of everything.
Well, he's kind of not. Like, he's kind of letting Augustus be the new sovereign. Or I think he convinces him by calling this the King of Mars or whatever. Yeah. So he's in a really good spot right now.
Yeah.
Like, he's convinced Augustus to fight against Bologna.
Things are looking really good.
They're all going to fight, and then, the Rising can just come in and...
Yeah, the only issue prior to this that we didn't really address is that him and Roke had a conversation.
Yes.
They sat down and...
He finally decided that he needed to talk with Roke.
Yeah, and he decided a little too late. Because Roke has some stuff, and Roke... He's got a lot of pent-up frustrations with Darrow. Mainly because Darrow hasn't been as good of a friend to him as Roke has been to Darrow.
Yeah.
Which friendships shouldn't necessarily work that way. I mean, you shouldn't be seeking anything in return. But you can see where Roke's coming from. I mean, because of Darrow, 2 of Roke's girlfriends have died.
Yeah.
Both Leah and Quinn now. And Roke has done all these things. He's like won all this stuff, but Darrow seems kind of more focused on himself. Mainly because he's got this huge secret he's hiding.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot on his mind. He's trying to start this rebellion that's unbeknownst to everybody else. But... Roke's frustrated.
Yeah, it's just really hard. I can imagine it being really hard to trust anybody because once you tell anybody, even if they seem close, like golds are very prideful. They hold to that, and they may think that's more important than Darrow.
Yeah, and so Roke has his frustrations, and that's really going to be the thing that changes a lot at this final ceremony because everything looks really good for Darrow.
Yep.
But then this happens.
So they bring up the box, and the box is supposed to have like I guess the crown for Darrow.
It's like some sort of gift
to award him for it. And it's revealed what's in it, and it's obviously not a crown. I don't think we find out until later.
No, it's revealed at the end of the book.
Yeah, the very end. Yeah. But basically, the Jackal had caught on to Darrow's schemes. He knows that he had released the Sons, and he knows who he is, and he somehow figured out that he was a Red, and he's part of the Rising.
And Roke's the one who gives him the, he's the one who does the crowning ceremony and stuff, who gives him the box and everything.
Right.
And he, whispers in his ear that he's, a traitor.
Yeah.
And Darrow's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And then the Jackal comes out and, says all this other stuff. And Darrow's like, oh, no.
Yeah. And they basically slaughter everybody there.
It's like Game of Thrones all the way.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. And Lorne is one of them. We have a lot of people die here.
Lorne is killed. Victra shot in the back.
Severo is not here for this. And Mustang's not here. We haven't seen her since.
But then the Jackal, he kills Augustus.
He does.
Right? He walks up to him
father.
And kills his own father. He also reveals that he killed his older brother.
He indirectly caused his older brother to die.
Yeah.
So he's a pretty bad dude.
Up. He's bad. Yeah.
It's kind of for me, I guess I did start thinking he was a little bit better. I fell into the trap of thinking he's siding with Darrow, he has intentions that aren't completely correct. But once you hear all this stuff about him, you're like, he's just a terrible dude.
Yeah, he's bad.
He really has no humanity.
Yeah, and then to top it all off, they open the box, and inside the box, I think this is literally the end of the book. It's the head of Fitchner, of Ares himself, right? So he has been decapitated. Ares is dead.
And it's bad news bears.
Bad news
for the Rising.
Yes. Yeah, so basically, kind of like how at the beginning of this book, everything was looking really good for Darrow, and then, he lost everything.
Yeah. Kind of ends the same way.
Same way, right? So literally everything's looking really good, and then Augustus is dead, Fitchner's dead, their hopes are dead.
And Darrow's basically captured by the enemy, so all the leaders pretty much gone, except for Severo.
And I think Cassius shows up and says that he was going to, kill a bunch of people, too.
I can't remember.
Cassius is not a happy camper. I kept thinking that Cassius was going to end up coming around, but I'm not feeling that anymore. I think they're just, I think Darrow's just losing a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Poor Darrow.
That's sad. But there's a third book.
There is. As long as Severo and Darrow are tight, and then he gets Mustang in the end, I'll be happy.
I think that's one really good thing about Severo. By learning that he knew who Darrow was, we know that he already knew the truth, and he still followed him.
Yeah.
So we can pretty much rely on Severo. I think we do see him doubt him still a lot because of the gap between red and gold.
Yeah.
But I think Severo is pretty much consistent with his loyalty.
Yep. So there's a Golden Sun, the synopsis at least.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions about it?
I don't know. What did you think? Were you surprised by the ending of it, or did you kind of expect something? I think you had kind of known ahead. I told you the ending's pretty good.
You told me the ending was good, and I expected that they had to do some surprising stuff because typically in like a trilogy, the first book's setting everything up, and it's kind of like the first book's got to end on like this kind of hopeful note, so you know where it's heading.
Yeah.
But the second one usually that's like almost like the Infinity War of things.
Yeah.
Where like, okay, this is setting up the final act, so it's got to end like on a massive cliffhanger.
Half of everyone dying.
Yeah. Like I don't think I expected it to be that extreme.
Yeah.
Like I expected a lot of people to die, and I expected things to end up pretty poorly for Darrow.
Yeah.
But I did not expect Augustus to be dead, Fitchner to be dead. Like, dang.
Yeah.
Like both of Darrow's best friends just lost.
And we also don't know what's going to happen with Mustang.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, we trust in Mustang, and she's been a pretty good character, but she's gone right now, so we don't really know what's gonna happen.
I believe Mustang. Yeah, and I didn't expect Roke to go. Like I was hoping that Roke would eventually like come back,
turn around. Yeah.
And so
there is still a third book. I've kind of revealed that to you already. What happens, but there is the third one.
Yeah,
for hope there.
We'll see. But yeah, so I actually did enjoy it, and I think re-talking about it now, I enjoy it more than I did when I was actually reading it.
Yeah.
Because when I was reading it, I kept comparing it to the first book, and for some reason I liked the first book better at the time. But now, like mainly because the first book was a little more grounded and not as much space travel and stuff. But having talked through this one, like again, I think I actually like this one more. Just because I like the political intrigue and stuff of it is actually really interesting.
And Darrow has a lot of really cool like tactics that he does that are very smart. Like it's cool to see that unfold.
And I like it because you see both the good and the bad. Whereas in Red Rising, it was almost like everything he did was really smart.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, he does really smart things, but he also does things that they're smart, but they end up hurting him. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like it's like, okay, jumping into the helicopter or the spaceship or whatever, that was a good that was a brave thing to do and stuff, but it ultimately came to bite him in the butt. Yeah. Right? Because Fitchner, like all that stuff that happened afterwards, Fitchner dying and everything, that probably would not have happened if he had not done that.
And so did like the martyr stuff. Like,
yes. Yeah.
It caused them to like knock out Rogue, and Rogue distrusted him, and he didn't end up doing what he's going to do anyways. So.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff where I really did end up, I think, liking this book better just having sat here and talked through it. And just honestly recapping myself on the synopsis before we did this video. I mean, it was like,
I think there may have been some points also where I felt like kind of the same you did. I didn't really understand, like, the action parts in this are kind of hard to follow sometimes. Yeah. But I think when you hit the main points of it, that's what there's some really cool parts to the book that are fun.
I like it because the author does a really good job of making it to where, even though the whole thing's basically about war, you don't spend a lot of time detailing action, because action is one of those cool things. It's really cool to watch on screen, like in movies and cinema and stuff. Yeah. But it's a very hard thing to pull off in an intriguing way in literature. Yeah. So I think the author does a really good job of like putting just enough action in there to where you get it, but not so much that you're like too confused. Like there's some places where you're like, I don't know, like you're having to read it a few times to be like, what's going on? But I think he does a really good job of that. So.
Well, I think that's one of the things where I prefer to have an actual book that I can read to kind of figure it out. Some of the stuff where they're in space fighting and just all that can get confusing. Yeah. I found like the duel between Cassius and Darrow was fun to read.
That was fun to listen to. Just mainly because I had no idea what was going on. I was like, Darrow, what do you got planned here?
It's easier to follow. Well, also you have the expectation Darrow's not good at fighting, so you're kind of thinking about that, like, how is this gonna happen?
Yeah. Whenever they revealed that Lorne had trained him, I got real confused for a second because, like, I think I even told you this. I was like, that was a major reveal, right? Yeah. Like for a second, like they were like, I trained with Lorne on Arcos, and I was like, wait, did he talk about that before?
Honestly, I did the same thing. Yeah. I thought maybe I had missed something in one of, like the beginning or the last book or something. I was like, no, I guess there's just something. Yeah, because I was like,
I don't remember him mentioning that before. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I was like, now I get why he was confident. So that was good. It was like a very understated mystery, and I was like, I see. Yeah. Okay, so it was a good book. Good book.
Yeah. And I like the last one even more. So.
High praise. Okay, well,
the ending to that one is even better than this one. So
okay, and that one's called Morningstar.
Morningstar.
Right. See, I was thinking that the rebellion wouldn't really start until that one because I thought that was like an allusion to like like Lucifer, Morningstar, like like Satan leading a rebellion against God or something. But I guess not. So,
I think it's actually the Obsidian that call him Morningstar. So I don't know that name is related to Norse stuff also or.
The Morning Star, that's the idea of, it's like I think it's actually Venus, but it's like literally the last star, like it's the first star you can see at nighttime, the last star you can see in the morning.
Okay.
So it's the one that clings the closest to the sun.
Okay.
Right, so, yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
But anyways,
there you go.
The last book focuses a lot on the Obsidians. So
okay.
If you're interested in the Obsidians, there's
more Ragnar!
More Ragnar.
Sweet.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for it. Do you have anything else to say?
No. I think that's it. We're keeping this one shorter. Cool. But yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, there's our review and little talk through of Golden Sun.
Yeah.
That's the second book in the Red Rising trilogy. We'll be back at some point in the near future to talk about Morningstar.
Yeah.
And then who knows, maybe we'll come back for the, I don't know, whatever the next series is called. Iron Age, Dark Age.
I'm not sure what the official name of the series, but it's like the sequel trilogy. There's another trilogy after this one that takes place like 10 years later.
Okay. So. Well, maybe we'll get to those too. Who knows? We'll see. Until then, I'm David.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Now Let's Be Honest About Movies, where today we were talking about books. Bye.
Bye.